The last activity I want you to participate in today, I want you to pull out one more blank piece of paper. Find the largest white space on your outline you can find. Because before you write anything down in this this large white space or this new fresh piece of paper, at the very top, in just a few words, I want you to write down the most stressful thing that happened to you in the last week. You're not going to share this with anybody else. For your own, kind of triggering or reminder. When were you most upset? What was most stressful in the last week or so? And just write down in a few words what happened. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you how I take the research literature, try and create a clinical tool that you can use tomorrow. Now, this is actually this is attributional style, or attributional theory. And Martin Seligman, the same guy who gave us learned helplessness back in the 70s, he worked with Lauren Alloy and then Abramson on this idea, Chris Peterson as well. Because they were trying to understand, why is it that women in this country, no matter how you measure it, questionnaires, medications, visits to the doctor, women experience depression at least 2.5 times more often than men. Well, it's not because, ladies, you experience 2.5 times as many negative events. It actually may be how you've been socialized to think about these events, or think about the cause of these events. So underneath this brief description, I want you to draw 3 horizontal lines from left to right all the way across the paper and leave about 1 inch space in between each one. So all the way across, left to right, leave about 1 inch between each one. And on the top line, on the far left-hand side, I want you to write the word internal. On the far right-hand side of the top line, write the word external. The middle line, far left end, put the word global. On the far right-hand side of the middle line, write the word specific. And finally, the bottom line, far left-hand side, is the word stable. Far right-hand, put the word temporary. Now I'm summarizing about 70 plus studies. But they show that we ask ourselves 3 questions. When good things happen too, but especially when bad events occur, we ask ourselves 3 questions about what caused that bad event to happen. First question is, how personally responsible am I for causing that event? Now, what I want you to do, don't put an X down on the top line quite yet. If you're totally blameless, then you'd put an X on the very far right-hand side. But maybe the X goes somewhere in between. You decide. Because, for example, maybe what was so upsetting to you was your best friend really was angry with you. That was stressful. But she was angry with you because of something you said 3 weeks ago to a common third friend. So, okay, maybe you played some role. The X goes, again, you determine how far to the left, how far to the right. Second question we ask ourselves is, how pervasive is the cause? That is the cause of this event likely to cause other bad events in my future? If global attributions means, oh, absolutely. So if I'm saying I got a bad evaluation and the reason why she gave me low marks on my presentation was she realized I'm stupid. I don't know enough information, right? Or I'm not likable enough. Or it's also a global attribution if I say she gave me a bad mark because she's a passive-aggressive person. She's just depressed. I just start labeling people, right? Well, guess what? I'm going to run into a lot of passive-aggressive people in my life. Or, sorry, my intelligence, if that's the way I make sense of that, my intelligence, or lack thereof, is going to create a lot of negative events in my future. That would mean the X goes toward the left. However, if I say, no, it was a very specific thing. She gave me high marks on 4 out of the 5 things. It was just that one thing that she wanted to hear more about. Or, that friend was really upset with me, but I know that she's sensitive. It was a kind of a perfect storm of 3 or 4 things. It was specific just to this situation. Then the X in the middle line would go a little more toward the right-hand side. You decide. final question we ask is, how permanent is the cause? All events are temporary, but causes can be pretty permanent or stable. If it's not likely at all to change the cause of that event, your X would go more toward the left-hand side. If you say to yourself, that's easily fixable. I can modify that, I can learn that skill, I can change that, then it's more temporary, your X goes more toward the right-hand side. Now, this says nothing about you. This is done really quickly to give you some sense of how this would go. But all the studies clearly demonstrate when negative events occur, women relative to men find their X's on the left-hand side. It's what we refer to as depressogenic thinking. If you want to generate depression in somebody, have them take total responsibility for a bad event, that they see it as who they are as a person and some characteristic flaw in them, and that it's stable and permanent and not likely to change. Men, boy, are we lucky. We realize when bad things happen, it's always somebody else's fault. Specific to my third wife, and I'm sure it won't happen with my fourth. As you might imagine, mental health is where the X's reside, generally in the middle. Why? Because if X's are too far, too consistently on the right-hand side, we associate that not with depression, but with anger management problems. Right? Ladies, I'm sorry, the news gets worse for you. When good things happen, you do a gender flip-flop. Relative to men, when good things happen, you see the causes of those good events as outside of your control, specific just to the situation or relationship, and not likely to happen again. Now, this is a tool because if you were to have a patient, a client, and have them do this for 10 or 15 different events, could be in the relatively recent past, or maybe they're going to do one of these a day, or 2 of them a week or something. You might find that on the personal and pervasive dimensions, the X's, their causal attribution is somewhere in the middle, but they may really more often struggle and have their X's toward the left-hand side. That actually helps you target why is their depression or dysthymia kind of so entrenched. It's because you can target your cognitive interventions for that permanency dimension.